We've got 6 viewers.
What would you say is the biggest lesson that you've learned this year?
Oh, that's a good question. I think the biggest lesson that I've learned is, the greatest coaches or the best coaches aren't necessarily the ones that talk about X's and O's, but it's doing everything from a place of love. People feel that, and if I can develop a relationship with players, coaches, front office, and I can be critical, but out of love, I think they can receive it better. It's not how well I draw up a play or how much I get on you or discipline or how great I am at, but it's how much people feel that you love them.
What's up and welcome back to Pro Pels Talk presented by Boot Crew Media. My name is Justin Napoli alongside Ross Tivino and Stephen Offner, all of us back in the studio. Love it. If that video doesn't get you jacked up, I don't know what else will. Willie Green seeming to be the new head coach of the New Orleans Pelicans, the complete opposite of Stan Van Gundy, which you called a curmudgeon about a year ago. Clearly just off that clip, shout out Christian Clark for finding that video clip of a Suns interview before I guess it was the season or during the season. But just one thing to take away from that short 40-second clip is that relationships matter. I don't think Stan Van Gundy really had that. As you can kind of tell with the locker room, he never really had the locker room. It looks like Willie Green will have that, or he will demand actual respect in the locker room. So with that being said, Ross, how's it going?
Wonderful.
Wow.
It seems like a little froggy there. I got choked up here and I'm talking about love or whatever that was. I'm doing wonderful. It sounds like we might have a head coach in an official head coach in the very near future. That's fabulous news.
Steven?
Just wonderful.
Yeah, just happy we didn't prolong this as long as we did last year.
I feel like it's still, but like we still haven't even announced it's like official. Like there's a bunch of like
I feel like that's
teasers.
because he's still coaching.
I guess so. But like yeah, I guess so. I don't know what the whole rules are anymore with announce. I guess you can announce it early if you want, but it doesn't matter. Yeah. Like he's the head coach.
They're not doing the X's and the O's.
Yeah,
and,
he's ready to go.
Situation.
So Willie Green, as we discussed, he only spent 1 year in New Orleans. It felt like 5.
No idea.
Coming from the University of Detroit Mercy, and then stuck around the league for 12 years, played for Philly, the Clippers, not the Pelicans, Hornets. Ross, just initial reaction. What are your thoughts on the hire or the hire that will be Willie Green?
Well, I like it. I mean, he's I think what the type of guy we wanted last year, right? Young. I mean, he seems like he feels like one of those guys that could still be like hanging around, like the end of a bench or something. He's 39. He hung around. He played the whole like veteran presence thing for a while. I feel like he's always had a wonderful demeanor. He just seems to have a very good head on his shoulders, very sincere, and still young enough to relate. So I'm excited about it. I feel like he's everything that Stan wasn't. And so, while he doesn't,
human being.
Well, yeah. And while he does, I mean, obviously doesn't have the like coaching history or the resume or whatever you want to call it. I don't know that it's totally necessary because what's going to matter here is relationships. So,
yeah. Steven, thoughts on relationships, right? That's important in today's game. We're going to get into that. Thoughts about that?
Well, relationships. Yeah. As long as he can relate to a younger crew. I mean, we talked about this ad nauseum last year I thought Stan was going to come in and do great because he was going to put him, maybe get him in check a little bit. But obviously that's not the case anymore with the way that, these guys are coming up, and especially when they're playing. I mean, you can go back to all the way to AAU ball. I mean, you think about it, like their coaches for that are more of their friends. Yeah. It seems like, you relate with them more, but like, I think this is going to work.
I do too.
I think it's going to work because of this reason.
Okay.
It is not a hire that we have had anything like for the Pelicans or the Hornets. When was the last coach that we hired that was an up and coming assistant? Was it Monty Williams?
Guessing is that's literally it's probably
so. Either we are in a spin cycle of shit to where we're going back now. We're gonna start the whole Monty Williams process over again, or this is gonna take off like a rocket ship. Now, the coach obviously isn't the final answer here.
Right.
There's still a lot to do, but it's a good stepping stone. It's a good stepping stone to start the offseason off, and quickly too. Like we said, like last year, how long did we drag that out on, talking about finding a coach?
Oh yeah, I mean,
It took forever. So, I mean, now that we have a place, I know it's not officially announced, but to have some type of like, ease of mind or whatever the hell that
peace of mind, yeah.
Peace of mind.
For sure. There you go. I got you.
Thanks.
Trivia
But-
question for you here, Ross. Who was Willie Green traded for to bring him to New Orleans?
God, I have no clue. I mean, I don't even have a guess.
Not even guess.
He came. Well, actually, you know what?
Where'd he come from?
He came from Philly.
You're close.
Did he not come from
No,
Philly?
you're right.
He came from Philly.
Who did he get traded for?
Was he part of
I'd be shocked if he got this. Shocked.
Ish Smith?
No.
No,
I don't know.
What?
I'm trying to think
You're,
of guys.
you're
like
really close. You nailed the last name. You got it halfway right.
Russ Smith.
No, Russ Smith was our draft pick.
Does anybody
who
remember the
traded
name of
Jason
Jason
Smith.
Smith? Jason Smith.
Click, click, boom.
You like that? Real quick though, head assistant for the Phoenix Suns. He has had them. I know he has had some influence on the defensive scheme. Top 10 in opponent points per game and defensive rating this year, and has a top rating defense in the postseason.
He was the type of guy you could just the way he played, right? Like Willie Green, not the best NBA player on earth. Okay,
No.
nobody's saying that, but he was
Cook
the
all
type.
us.
He was the type of guy that you could tell, like, oh, this guy's probably gonna be a good coach someday. Played the right way, seemed to play hard. Was like never a guy that was in there loafing around. It's weird we just said Jason Smith because like he's another guy that I feel like, oh, Jason Smith will probably be on an NBA bench someday.
Yeah, I
Like
can see that.
He was just like a mature guy. I mean, I think back to even when he was here and he was probably, I guess he's 39 now. So he was what, 28, 29, 30 when he was here. And you could just tell like very mature guy, type of guy that you want to be a head coach. Demeanor real similar to Monty, to be honest with you. Kind of
Yeah,
feels like
even
he's gonna,
keeled.
Yeah.
Well, like I don't think he'll like try to embarrass you. Like like for instance, I don't think he'll do the Stan Van Gundy comment with after the Knicks is like called him a bunch of high schoolers and things like that. He'll do that behind closed doors, which is a good thing. But Steven, to that point, and I wanted to talk about relationships in today's game matter. Clearly, it seems that I mean he's talked about throughout the entire league how well respected he is. I know Jared Dudley just came out with a tweet, things like that. I'm hoping Ingram and Zion can relate to this guy. At what point now, we tried with Alvin, it didn't work. Alvin was too friendly. We tried with Stan, he was too hard. Now we have Willie, who is seemingly supposed to be a player's coach, things like that, relationships first, coaching second. How much does that matter?
Well, I mean, you got to find that middle ground, right?
Right.
You got to find the middle ground between that. So hopefully, David Griffin has taken that to heart. And I don't know how much of the interview process we've done. I mean, Jesus, how many names have been connected to the Pelicans since this whole thing started?
Jacques Vaughn, Charles Lee, Chauncey Billups.
I mean, every single
everybody.
every big name coach, it seems like, and we were wondering, like, is this going to be a hot spot for that coaches want to come? And
Right.
we thought that maybe it wouldn't be, but apparently we were wrong about that. I mean, unless these are just talks, we're not in the inner circle. We don't know if they've done
Right.
these interviews with all these people, but I mean, it seems like they're taking this one a lot more seriously than they did last year.
Oh yeah, and I also think I don't think it was David Griffin's sole choice here, Ross. I think this was a team effort. I definitely think Trajan was involved in this process. It seemed as if Griffin, I think he missed that on Ty Lue and was like, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna go with Stan Van Gundy," and that was kind of it. I want you to kind of hash and talk about how this seems to be more of a team effort than just a David Griffin effort.
Well, look, I mean, I can't speak to the inner workings of the organization, but I mean, we butchered last year. Like we were still
It was
paying,
bad.
we were still paying Gentry, and then you gave Stan a bunch of money, and like that crumbled in year one. I mean, I'm not the CEO of any company, and I'm certainly not Gail Benson or Mickey Loomis or whoever is sort of overseeing this greater operation. But like the first thing I would have said whenever it was like, hey, we're going to get rid of Stan, would be like, okay, well, let's do the opposite of what we did last year, because that failed. And now we owe this curmudgeon a shitload of money too. So that was sort of an obvious organizational decision, I think, to say like, hey, let's take a step back here, make sure that we change this process, get multiple people involved. So, kudos to them. If, I feel like this is the right guy, a guy that should work here. And look, the one thing we've been critical of David Griffin, the one thing that it seems like like you've got to own up to your mistakes, change them, and then you've also got to change the way you make decisions moving forward. And so I think with the quick pull of Stan, letting Trajan sort of facilitate this process, and now hiring a guy like this, that's a step in those are steps in the right direction. And now what I'm really hopeful for is that the same thing happens on the player side of it. So like, if you can continue to transform it in the right direction, that's really all you can ask for. And you're not going to no one's going to nail every decision, whether it's a draft pick, a coach, an assistant coach, whatever it is. Right. But you got to learn from your mistakes and get better. And it seems like we're committed to doing that.
Yeah. And I think we've definitely been critical of David Griffin, and it's okay to be critical of David Griffin. Like everyone kind of gets a little, sensitive when it comes to that topic, but I've also applauded David Griffin that he fucked up. He got off of it, and now we go. Yeah. Now you can't make decisions on Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart, all these trade rumors, different things like that. That's going to be the offseason. I think we can kind of start moving forward. I wanted to get to a quote that Steve Kerr said was that about Willie Green. I think this is coming from maybe the Republic or Forbes. I forget what it was. But he's a head coach in the making, Kerr said. He's on his way, and I'm really happy for Willie. He's done a phenomenal job. Willie Green has been part of winning teams. He's won back-to-back championships in Golden State. He's in the finals this year. He's coached Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, all those, Chris Paul. He's played with Chris Paul, Allen Iverson. The list goes on and on. He's been around greatness. He knows what it takes. And I think it's a great hire. As Steven pointed out earlier, it's the opposite of what we've done the past 6 years. Yeah, we're finally kind of getting into the game here. I don't know if you had a point.
No, I didn't. No.
Okay,
Thank you for asking.
You seem really.
I was gonna say something,
and then you totally forgot.
And then I started looking at Willie Green's statistical career marks, and
what did he average?
Yeah,
7-4, 7-3.
Not far off. He averaged 8.
I mean, he was kind of like a good player.
8 points, 2 rebounds, and 1.5 assists.
It's not bad. 12 years. 12 years.
12 years.
Hey, bud.
12 years.
That's 8
only
more points
one
than I've averaged. That's 2 more rebounds than I average.
Yep.
I would love to just poll New Orleans basketball fans. Like, I mean, you can't do it because the first thing people do is go check. Like, no one would be like, "Hey, he was here 1 year." Like 1 short year.
I really thought Willie Green was here.
I just said 3.
You legit blew my mind when you said he was here for 1 year earlier. I wanted to jump on my phone and prove you wrong, even though it was up in front of you.
I feel like he was a teammate of Chris Paul for like at least 3 years.
I wish I could do a blind poll of like just like everyone get in this room. What do you think the answer to this question is? I feel like no one would be like, one short year.
Was it a year and a half?
I don't even think it was a full
1 year. I don't think it was a full year.
Oh my God.
No, it was. He played 77 games.
Okay.
Not a full year.
Yeah, full year.
7 years or 7 games. That's fair.
Anyway.
Okay. We're gonna wrap it up here. It's a quick little rapid session, but I do want to ask y'all 2 questions. One, I want Steven to answer first, then Ross.
Okay.
If Willie Green fails, David Griffin's gone. True or false?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna go with true on this one. I mean.
What is failure?
Yeah. That's
right?
fair. That's
like was Monty a failure here? Was Gentry a failure? Like what is like a failure to me is Stan. That's a failure. Like
that's my bad. Like my dad's calling me.
Like if it fucks up that quick and that drastically, like that's a huge failure. I mean, if a guy comes in, we just go like 500, lose, make the playoffs. Like there's just a different. Like it's hard as shit to win in the NBA.
Well, we have to win now. It is. We have to win. There is no rebuilding anymore. We have to win now.
Yes, that's a little unfair pressure. I think for a first-time head coach, we don't have this. Isn't Steve Nash walking into Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, Joe, like a great team. We have you can put a lot of it on the coach. I said this going into last year and the year before and everything else. Everybody wants to talk about us like we're a team that's losing in the first. We're not. We weren't a playoff team last year. We weren't a playoff team the year before. And to be honest, we weren't really all that close. So he's not stepping into a rebuilding team, but this is not a team, in my opinion, that is like, oh, look, we got the guy. Let's go compete for the 4 seed or something. I just don't think we're there. The roster isn't good enough. So if we don't make the playoffs this year, that may not be an indication of oh, Willie Green, I fucked it up. Willie Green's not the guy. That's an unfair expectation. Obviously, we're all going to hope to make the playoffs, but he's not the guy putting the roster together. And there's only so much that can be done, I think. So
Good point.
I caution against saying that.
Can we
It's
say
not
a
fair.
failure is, and at this point, you have the same roster that Stan had. Any type of regression, I'm going to say is a failure.
I don't think
Sorry.
Go ahead.
You don't think like any type of regression is a failure? I mean, what will be different?
Yeah, because I don't think we can get I mean, if you get any work like yes,
that's the thing. Yes.
I'll agree with that in the sense that like we're starting from a bad spot.
Sure, exactly.
My caution is to put some like playoff or bust thing in there because I mean it's not stepping into a playoff team. Like
I'm saying as long as we get better.
Yeah.
As long as we get better, that's it. If we regress in any type of way, I don't think it's unfair at all to say, that's, but I mean, you know what you're signing up for.
Right.
So you're coming into as a first year head coach in this league into an anomaly of a team. You have 2 all-stars. You have, what the fuck are we going to do with Lonzo? You have, what the fuck are we going to do with Bledsoe? And I mean, that's obviously the front office.
It's a great point. We could go into, he could step into the same as Stan did, kind of the same as Gentry saw some of this. Like he could step into a team next year that looks totally different. Like that's just the truth. Like,
sure.
I would imagine we're trying like hell to move off of Bledsoe, move off of Adams. Is Lonzo coming back? Is Josh Hart? Like there's a lot of questions. Those guys, whether I think they're good or not, doesn't matter. They played a shitload of minutes for us last year.
Yeah.
So then this more just goes solely on David Griffin getting the right guys in for Willie Green.
But you also need to give him time too.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
he's got to have time.
Yeah,
like Willie Green automatically has 3 years here. Automatically.
I agree.
Automatically.
Yeah, and that's the biggest. That is the biggest difference between Willie Green and Stan. We said the words like I don't know. It makes me nervous bringing in Stan because he's such a he's the type of guy that can rub you the wrong way. He could fuck a locker room up. Willie Green's not going to fuck the locker room up and like. If you're not doing that, then like you're just gifted the 3-year sort of like, hey, let's get this going type of thing. Yeah. So I'm not. Yeah, I don't. Back to your original question, it's going to take longer to know whether like he's a success or not. But I don't think it's going to be it's just not going to be a monumental failure like Stan was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last question. So some rumors came out about Lonzo Ball Stevens saying that the Pels will not match a significant offer sheet. What is I like Lonzo Ball. What is this? We'll go Ross first and Steven. What does a significant offer sheet mean?
I think anything north of like $14-15 million a year.
What did can we dig up? He's definitely going to get more than that. I'm
saying that's what we wouldn't offer. I'm saying that's what we wouldn't match.
We wouldn't match $15 million for Lonzo Ball.
I would.
Come on, man.
3 years, $45 million. I'm saying I don't know.
I would give us I mean, what did we say? We did this before.
We
did this last year.
I said I wouldn't
22.
pay 21.
I said last year I wouldn't pay 22 if his 3-point shoot got better. Now he did, but now I'm also dropping that number down to 18.
Really?
I'm dropping it down to 18.
So it doesn't matter.
I'm also sitting here not fully aware of the entire salary cap.
3-point shooting didn't get better. It stayed the exact same.
It's about the same. It didn't like
we had this discussion,
but there's no regression, right? Like I'm looking at that, right? So if I'm looking at 18, not knowing what the salary cap is, obviously if we move Adams and Bledsoe, I'm on that shit. Keep talking about that all day, but I mean, yeah, I think
so. Significant offers 15, 18. I'm
going
saying
20.
20. Okay,
anything above 18 when you get into that 20 margin, man,
I'll just reiterate the same thing I said last year. You give him 18 or 20, you're basically locked into Lonzo, BI, Zion as your core 3 guys that you think you're going to win a championship with. I don't think
you can, like,
for the most part, it's positive. Zion in a couple of years, Zion's going to be making 30-something million a year.
Oh, that's right.
So your team.
It's actually in a year.
Yeah,
your team that's going to be the core of your team. I've watched that team just not make like.
But if you can get him at a decent price and the market keeps going up, that back end of that contract, if you do need to move him and he does kind of get a little better, it could be a little sexier. It's the risk you take doing that.
I like the sexier drop right there.
It was.
That was a good sexier drop. Speaking of which, we'll end on that. Stephen Offer, Ross Tivino, Justin Napoli. Willie Green going to be the new head coach. Willie Green. I do think that we are going to get a special guest on here that used to coach with Willie Green. Very excited
Get
about
out of
that.
town.
On the Golden State Warriors staff. So be tuned for
Steve
that.
Kerr?
Steve Kerr is coming.
Holy shit, guys, we did it.
Steve Kerr. So
you did it.
NBA draft 2 weeks from tomorrow.
Are we going to go live? I think we should go live. Should we go live? At least for our
We're
pick.
not even going to have a pick. We're going to trade it.
Yeah, get off Eric Bledsoe.
Sexton.
Yeah, I think so too. But I agree with you.
Drop.
God, I'd be so happy.
See y'all
about
later.
that.
Bye. Kisses.